Welcome back, guys. My name is Mansur, reporting for All Israel News. We are starting to hear voices from Lebanon that we never thought we are going to be hearing before. People are starting to speak up against Hezbollah and pro-Israel, wanting to reach some kind of a peace agreement with Israel and end the war and the hostility. Now that Israel have been destroying Hezbollah, pummeling to the ground, meanwhile weakening the Iranian reign of terror over the region, we're starting to hear more and more voices like this guy over here. So without further ado, let's jump right in and talk about it.
I've seen them speak about Lebanon, and I would like to ask them a question right here from Beirut, if you allow me. How many Lebanese need to die so you can satisfy your ideological cravings? How many? We keep being pontificated at as if we are children who are unable to decide their own fate and their own national interest. Khalas, as we say in Lebanon, khalas. We want them to leave us alone. I've heard the argument that, Israel is attacking Lebanon and the Lebanese army need to stand by with Hezbollah to fight Israel, as if this is the national interest of the Lebanese. This is not only idiotic, peers, and shameful, it's counterproductive. And you know how I know that it's counterproductive? Because unlike them, I rely on facts, research, and history to prove my point. We know from history when Lebanon was attacked and when Lebanon was not attacked. If you allow me to show you this study I did, if we can take it on camera for just 2 seconds, I will tell you about these numbers. We know in Lebanon very well, 80% of us, that for 20 years, between the Armistice Agreement of 1949 and the beginning of PLO attacks against Israel in 1969, for these 20 years, we know that in this 20-year period, do you know how many times Israel violated Lebanese sovereignty in a 20-year period?
Rarely ever.
Tell me.
82 times, Pierce. 82 times in 20 years. Do you know how many Lebanese people died in 20 years as a result of
less than 20.
Skirmishes between Lebanon and Israel on the Israeli-Lebanese border? In 20 years, 15 people died. Do you know how many people were injured in 20 years? In a whole 20 years, 16 people were injured. That's in a whole 20 years. Why? Because there were no militias in South Lebanon, and the state owned the monopoly of arms. Now, if you compare that very quickly to the era that is often praised by some of these pundits, the era where the resistance was fighting against Israel and protecting Lebanon. In this period, between 2006 and 2026, a perfectly comparable period in terms of time frame, the number of Lebanese deaths, 6,152 people.
Wow.
The number of Lebanese injured, 23,056 people. The number of Israeli violations to Lebanese sovereignty that the resistance was protecting, 62,150 violations. That's a 410 times fold in dead people. And
that's insane.
756 times fold in violations. So the math is clear, peers. We knew when we were a jewel of the Mediterranean and the Middle East and why that is. We know these facts. We need them to stop lying because of their ideology at our expense. We also know, by the way, peers, speaking of occupation and aggression, by certificate of UN Secretary General in April 2000, that Israel had left its occupation of every single inch of Lebanese territory. Today, because of the wars of liberation for Gaza and for Iran, about 25% of our territory is not occupied. We also know, as a matter of historical fact, that for 78 years of existence of Lebanon and Israel, despite 20 years of military occupation in the south, not one Jewish settlement, not a single was put in South Lebanon. So save us your buzzwords about expansionism and colonialism and settlements, etc. We know our history. And we don't need people blinded by ideology to tell us that we need to stand with an illegal sectarian fundamentalist militia and fight Israel. We don't need to do that. We need to stand with our army to establish Lebanese sovereignty, after which Israel would not be able or willing to attack Lebanon and thousands of people would not die.
I'm going to show you a few more video, but this guy here is a very interesting guy. His name is Sal Mashnook. In his, I think I said his name right. He's a Lebanese political analyst and academic from a prominent Sunni political family. So he's a Sunni Muslim known for his commentary on Lebanon system, reform, and regional politics. So we're starting to hear voices not only coming from the Christians, but also from the Sunni Muslims, and possibly soon also from the Shia. Once they get the tuchas kicked, once Israel will keep bombing some sense into them, you're going to hear more and more. Because like I said before, in the Middle East, the most important language you need to speak is power and respect. And the moment that Israel is speaking that, we're starting to hear more and more voices. Now watch this video filmed by a Lebanese from his backyard, exposing how Hezbollah is using Lebanese citizens as human shields, and even coming and saying, I don't blame Israel for this, I'm blaming Hezbollah. They are the ones who are bringing this bombing on us. Watch this, because this is something we haven't seen before.
أنا هذا بيتي هون وجماعة الحزب اللي عم يدافعوا عن الشعب وعم يدافعوا عن أهل الجنوب.
So Hezbollah took his house
حطوا الصواريخ على الزيتون بيضربوهم.
in his garden. They put rockets and missiles in his garden. And he talked to them. He said hundreds of times, and he told them, listen, I have family, I have children here, but they're not listening. So now he's coming and saying, clearly, if something happened to us, I'm blaming it on Hezbollah. Crazy that they're starting to wake up. Or actually, I think they were woken up already a long time ago for this, but now they're feeling more free to talk about it. Now, here, this guy, he's saying something interesting. Again, a very interesting Lebanese voice that we haven't heard before, and we're starting to hear more and more now.
Hezbollah أخطر على لبنان من إسرائيل ب 10,452 مرة.
How do you bring that number?
الخطر على لبنان هو حزب الله. حزب الله يريد تغيير هوية لبنان، يريد تغيير ديموغرافية لبنان، يريد تغيير دور لبنان، يريد تغيير وظيفة لبنان، يريد القضاء على ميثاق العيش المشترك في لبنان وعلى دستور لبنان وعلى الجمهورية اللبنانية، ويريد تحويل لبنان إلى محافظة ضمن الجمهورية الإسلامية الإيرانية، ويريد إبقاء لبنان وطن حروب وموت وفوضى وخراب ودمار.
You see, what he's talking about here is an attempt that is happening among the radical Muslim sections in the Sunni and in the Shia, which is called the Muqawama, which is the uprising, the continuance of the holy war of Islam against the world. And what they see is they don't believe in boundaries, they don't believe in borders, they don't believe in countries. For them, you're either part of a Muslim ummah or you're not, and you're either part of the effort to colonize the world by Islam and to dominate and establish Sharia law all across the land, or not. So he's calling them out. He's saying basically Hezbollah doesn't care about Lebanon. Hezbollah cares about the Muslim Ummah, which is, there is a part of the Muslim world that sees the world into two. You're either under the Muslim Ummah or you are part of the rest of the world. And they call it the Muqawama, this like uprising, this continuous holy war against the West, where they don't believe in countries, nationalities, and borders. You're either part of Islam or you're not, and you're either part of the effort to colonize the world under Sharia law or fight against it. So they're coming and saying, we don't want Lebanon to become the holy war zone, basically, for this Islamic expansion to conquer the world. Because remember, first they see Israel as the front line of defense for the rest of the West. Once they defeat Israel, they're going to go for America, they're going to go for Europe, or keep working on America and Europe. For them, this is the strategy. And this is existent, by the way, among the Sunni and the Shia. You have surprisingly large amount of Muslim, from Muslim Brotherhood all the way to Shia extremists, that really believe in that, including Turkey, for example. Now, the next video is a very interesting video because it's showing us the confusion that is starting to happen among many of these Muslim nations who are so used to hate Israel, but all of a sudden Israel is the one that is doing the job for them. Israel is succeeding where they all failed, because they all saw Iran as the enemy of Islam, especially if you're from the Sunnah or the stable Muslim countries in the region, and they were afraid of Iran. They wanted to bring an end to that regime, but now Israel is the only one that is capable. Israel was the only one that was capable to defeat Hezbollah, to defeat Iran, to weaken the Assad regime all the way that it collapsed. And Israel is literally doing a house clean among these Muslim countries. It's putting them in that very confusing place. How should they think about this whole Israel thing? Let's hear it from the man.
We have a lot of soul searching to do as Arabs and Muslims after this war. There is a sense among the elite in the region that for the first time they are in the same battle with the Israelis against a Muslim country, between brackets. So this is like a cultural shock. This is against anything they are used to. And it requires sober soul searching on what does being an ally or an enemy in this region. And that's very, very important. And that's an elite state and institutional grandiose endeavor to pursue. And it needs critical and strategic and moral clarity on every single level. My conclusion and the UAE proposition in that sense is that the war did not interrupt the Middle East path to stability or peace. It revealed that there was no path in presence of Iran.
Crazy.
And it's not about 7 October, how it hijacked the Saudi, for example, normalization. If you go back to the mid-90s, to how they financed and funded the suicide bombings, Iran has a long history in hijacking peace. And having a region now without Iran, without its capacity to hijack peace is very important. And that has a practical side to it. That's not only theoretical. So for the first time in decades, any Arab leader contemplating normalization with Israel does not have to calculate the cost of Iranian proxy retaliation as a serious variable in his calculus. So this is a seismic shift in the normalization calculus in the region, but it has to go hand in hand with brave, courageous, clear-eyed soul searching on what does it mean and what do we need from this coexistence with Israel. I mean, the Emiratis have a totally different proposition in that sense, and I think this will prevail with time.
This opportunity of destroying the Iranian Islamic regime is too good to be true for even the haters of Israel to come and ignore it and come and say, you know what, guys? Maybe Israel is not the problem. Maybe Israel is the solution. What I've been saying for a very long time, the solution for stability and peace in the Middle East. Once you allow Israel to go and do what it needs to do, because Israel, in contrary to many of these countries, is not a dictatorial regime. It's not a fanatic religious regime, and it's not an evil country. It's purely a democratical country that have very good godly foundations when it comes to Judeo-Christian values. And if you let a country like that lead the Middle East, you're going to have a very good Middle East. But if you keep fighting and resisting and hating Israel, is just drowning the whole Middle East into this mud of jihad and of constant holy wars that is first and foremost hurting the Muslims, and then later on probably even not hurting Israel that much, because Israel has not only been doing good, it's been doing very good while all the countries around are collapsing. But I can just assume that Israel will do way better with these countries together if they will come together and start sharing strength and the resources and their science and the cooperation and basically tourism, everything. The moment the Middle East will stop being, the moment Muslim countries in the Middle East will abandon the dream to destroy Israel and rather start educating their people to love thy neighbor and to try to live in peace with Israel, you will have a Middle East that you've never seen before. And it's going to give a good competition to Europe or any place in the West in terms of progress and advancement. But for that to happen, a lot of these Muslim countries need to do a real deep inner search inside of their soul to see what can they change, what do they have to change in order to make that happen. Anyway, guys, I hope you found this helpful. I'm trying to give you all the best update of what's happening in the Middle East through my sources, through my background and my understanding. If you have any questions or any comments, you're more than welcome to write them down, and I do my best to go and answer them, and maybe even get ideas for next videos that will help you better understand what is happening in the Middle East. My name is Mansur, reporting for All Israel News. See you next time.